Hello, good day, grade 10 students of Cavite State University, Naik Campus, Laboratory Science High School. For this session, we're going to have our first online asynchronous class regarding continental drift theory. Okay? So this one is pre-recorded na po sa ating YouTube channel. So please, you can watch this video once you have free time or kapag malakas na ang inyong internet connection. By the way, this lesson is actually naibigay ko na po through lecture notes. So this is just a supplemental lesson for our lesson number 1. So just give me a minute so I can show my screen to you. Before we officially start, let me check my screen sa ating YouTube channel kung properly working lang po. And so far, okay na po yung aking screen sa aking YouTube channel. So again, magandang araw po sa aking mga grade 10 students ng Cavite State University, Laboratory Science High School. So for this session, we're going to have our first lesson regarding continental drift theory. As I have mentioned last time, you can actually watch this video during your free time or kapag malakas na ang inyong internet connection. And this will also serve as a supplemental lesson for your lecture notes that we have gave you last, I think, 2 weeks ago. So let's start now. So for this session, we're going to have 3 main topics. The first one is the historical background of continental drift. Number 2, WEGENER'S and PANGAEA. And number 3, evidence of continental drift. So titingnan natin yung idea ng continental drift na yan. So medyo binago ko po yung sequence ng topic. Normally kasi, ang continental drift is actually discussed after pa nung mismong mga plate boundaries, yung mga plate tectonics. So ang gusto kong mangyari dito is yung pinagmulan ng idea muna ang i-discuss natin para at least alam natin yung pinaghuhugutan nitong plate tectonic theory na i-discuss natin eventually sa mga susunod na mga lessons natin. So for this session, we are going to focus now with continental drift theory. So let's start first with the historical background of continental drift. So saan nga ba nagmula itong idea ng continental drift na ito? Okay? So let's see this one. Prior to 1960s, most geologists held the view that ocean basins and continents have fixed geographic position and were of great antiquity. Pag sinabi natin great na geologists, these are scientists that studies the structure of the earth. They also study how this structure are formed. So pag pinag-aaralan din nila yung mga mechanisms na yan. But during or before 1960s, ang paniniwala nila is that the ocean basins and the continents that we have on our planet ay nakafix na yung kanilang posisyon. Ibig sabihin yung familiar map that we are having right now, they are, ever since the world began, ganyan na po yung posisyon nila. Okay? They have fixed geographic position. And they were of great antiquity. Ibig sabihin, nung sinaunang mga panahon pa, nung halos kabubuo pa lang na ating mga planeta, they believe na itong mga continents na to are fixed na sa kanilang mga posisyon. So medyo mahirap kalabanin yan kasi for centuries, yan ang pinaniniwalaan ng mga scientists at ng mga tao. But later researchers realized that Earth's continents are not static. So, na-realize ng ating mga scientists, ng ating mga geologists na hindi fix yung position ng ating mga continents. They have the idea na kung saan itong mga continents na to, they actually gradually migrate across the globe. So, naisip nila na or nakita nila through evidence na itong mga continents na to, itong mga land masses na to, they are actually moving, gumagalaw sila across the face of our planet. And this actually, it actually shows the tectonic forces. At pag sinabi natin grade 10 na tectonic forces, these are the type of forces na kung saan nakakapag-generate tayo, nakakapag-produce tayo ng mga landforms that we know. And I hope that bilang isang grade 10 students, aware na kayo sa mga different landforms like mountains, hills, valleys, plateaus. So yung mga bagay na yan, they are actually created by these tectonic forces. And these tectonic forces, itong mga forces na ito, ang sinasabi ng mga scientists na nagpagalaw o nagpapagalaw ng ating mga continents magpasa hanggang ngayon. Okay? So napansin natin sa unang parte pa lang ng ating discussion, it's very clear that there are arguments between these two ideas. Fix nga ba ang geographic positions ng ating mga continents? Or ito ba ay mga, sabihin natin ay gumagalaw? By the way, I will stop sharing muna. I-ayos ko lang po yung screen natin so I can make it a larger view. Ayusin na natin ha. para at least mas makita nyo mabuti yung ating slide. Okay, for a while. Just give me a minute again. So, let's go back to our discussion. I think okay. Check natin. Just give me a minute. Okay. So, yan po. So, sa ating discussion kanina lang po, maliwanag po that there are arguments between this idea na gumagalaw nga ba ang ating mga continents or naka-fix nga ba mga continents na ito. So, tingnan natin sa ating mga susunod na part ng ating discussion. Okay, let's move on. This profound reversal of scientific thought is described as a scientific revolution. Imagine the idea na ito ay isang revolusyon, ito ay isang malawakang pagbabago sa pag-iisip ng ating mga scientists. Okay? Kasi they believe nga na ito'y static or naka-fix yung ating mga continents. But mayroong grupo ng mga scientists on the later years na lang natin that they found out na gumagalaw yung mga continents na yan. So the scientific revolution that started early in the 20th century as a proposal called continental drift theory. So as you can see here on our animation, you can see here that the continents are actually moving. This one is during Jurassic period. So during the time of the, alam natin mga dinosaurs na yan. So as you can see here, that almost all continents here are clumped in one place. So later titingnan natin ano nga ba yung tawag sa lugar na yan. At may mga lilinawin din tayong mga misconceptions regarding this so-called supercontinent na ito. Okay? So this is just a glimpse of what happened during the Jurassic period. Pero marami pang naganap na mga movements ng mga continents na yan earlier sa ating Earth's history. Okay? So let's continue. Following World War II, modern instruments used by geophysicists and geochemists, these are types of scientists under the field of geology, they made several surprising discoveries that rekindled the interest in the continental drift theory. So, mga 1950s, 1960s, scientists started to, sabi natin, i-resurrect yung idea ng continental drift theory. So, binuhay muli nila. Kasi they found out na may mga patterns, may mga evidence, may mga trends, may nakita silang mga bagay sa ating kapaligiran na makapagpapaliwanag ng paggalaw ng ating mga continents na yan. Okay? So, yun ang titingnan natin maya-maya. Ano nga ba yung mga evidence na pwede natin magamit para patunayan or suportahan itong continental drift theory na ito? So by 1968, these developments led to the unfolding of a far more encompassing explanation known as the theory of plate tectonics. So tandaan natin, pwede nating sabihin na the continental drift theory is yun yung parang parent theory, yun yung pinagmulan, yun yung main idea natin. But the question here is, paano nga ba gumalaw, paano nag-drift yung mga continents natin? And that will be answered by the theory of plate tectonics. So, laging magkasama yung continental drift theory at plate tectonics na yun. And that's the main reason kung bakit inuna ko munang i-discuss ang continental drift theory before plate tectonics. Kasi some of the books that you're going to encounter, they usually discuss plate tectonics first before they have continental drift theory. So, yan ang purpose ko. Kung bakit yan ang inuna ko, continental drift muna tayo. So, let's continue. So, let's have a review muna. You can use the comment section for your answer. So again, you may use the comment section. Just type in your answer. I will give you 10 seconds to answer for this one. So let's have the first question. What are these forces that deforms the crust, creating major landforms? Again, the question is, what are these forces that deforms the crust, creating major landforms? Is it called plate tectonics, geological forces, tectonic forces, or drifting forces? Again, plate tectonics, geological forces, tectonic forces, and drifting forces. Again, you may use the comment section for your answer. Okay? Let's continue. So the answer is tectonic forces. Let's continue. Continental drift is considered as a scientific blank since it changed the scientific thought held for centuries. So again, the choices are criticism, revolution, breakthrough, or theory. Again, continental drift is considered as a scientific blank since it changed the scientific thought held for centuries. Is it criticism, revolution, breakthrough, or theory? I'm going to give you 10 seconds to answer. Okay? If your answer is revolution, then you are correct. So, tingnan natin itong kay Wegener at saka PANGAEA. Okay? Actually, personally, hindi ko pa sure exactly yung pronunciation ng surname niya, but I think it's a Wegener kasi sa mga napapanood kong mga documentaries, they pronounce his name as Wegener. Okay? So, I will stick to that one, Wegener and PANGAEA. So, sino yung dalawang yan? Ano yung dalawang terms na yan? Okay? So, tingnan natin ano yung relasyon ng pangalan na yan. Okay? The idea that continents fit together like pieces of jigsaw puzzle came about during 1600s as better world maps become available. So hindi si Wegener ang nagsimula nitong jigsaw puzzle idea ng continents na ito. It's actually during the Renaissance, may mga idea na yung mga tao na parang jigsaw puzzle yung ating mga continents. Parang may mga parts and portion of this continents na pwede mag-fit or pwede sila magdikit. Okay? So 1600s pa lang, nabuhay na yung idea nitong continental drift na to or yung jigsaw puzzle idea ng ating mga continents. But until 1915, Alfred Wegener wrote The Origin of Continents and Ocean. As you can see here, we have the picture of his book. Actually, this is the 4th edition of his book, The Origin of Continents and Ocean, kung saan inilathala o ipinablish ni Wegener yung idea niyan or hypothesis niya na tinatawag natin ngayon na continental drift theory. So dyan nakalagay, dyan nakasulat yung idea nung pinopropose ni Alfred Wegener at paano nga ba nag-fit yung mga continents na yan. So tingnan natin, ano nga ba yung pinopropose ni Wegener na ito. Wegener suggests that single supercontinent which he called Pangaea. Pangaea comes from the word pan, means all. Gaea or Gaia means earth or landmass. So all landmass. So during 250 million years ago, he proposed na yung ating mga continents, they are once joined together in what we call the supercontinent Pangaea. Okay? So pinapakita ng ating illustration here, somewhat parang simulation or parang hypothetical na pagkakadikit-dikit ng mga continents 250 million years ago, which we now call as Pangaea. Okay? So, tingnan natin ano nga ba yung nilalaman pa nitong idea ni Wegener na ito. He hypothesized that about 200 million years ago, during the Mesozoic era, the supercontinent began to fragment into smaller land masses, then started drifting to their present position. Medyo limited pa yung concept ni Wegener dito kasi 200 million years ago pa lang yung parang sabihin natin baseline ng kanyang theory. Pero sa totoo lang, you're going to see na sa mga YouTube videos, sa mga documentaries na itong mga supercontinent na to, hindi Pangaea lang. Marami pang mga supercontinents ang nabuo before Pangaea. Mayroon pa tayong tinatawag na Rodinia, or Columbia, yung mga yan. So, yun nga lang mga hypothetical supercontinent because it's really hard to look for evidence for that one kasi millions or billions of years ago na yung mga kaganapan na yan. But nevertheless, sa idea ni Wegener nung 200 billion years ago, nabuo yung sinasabi nga nating Pangaea or present yung ating supercontinent Pangaea. Okay? So, let's review. What do Wegener call the supercontinent in his continental drift theory? Is it Rodinia, Gondwana, Laurasia, or Pangaea? Again, what do Wegener call the supercontinent in his continental drift theory? Is it called Rodinia, Gondwana, Laurasia, or Pangaea? 10 seconds for your answer. Again, use the comment section for your answer. Okay. 3, 2, 1. If your answer is Pangaea, then you are correct. Which period did Pangaea started to break up as proposed by Wegener? Is it Mesozoic, Paleozoic, Cenozoic, or Cambrian? Again, which period did Pangaea started to break up as proposed by Wegener? Is it Mesozoic, Paleozoic, Cenozoic, or Cambrian? 10 seconds. If your answer is Mesozoic, then you are correct. Again, but please take note, yung Pangaea lamang ang tinutukoy ni Wegener sa kanyang idea during the Mesozoic era. But there are proposals or there are evidence, there are theories na may mga mas nauna pang mga supercontinents before Pangaea. So now, it's really quite remarkable yung pag-propose ni Wegener nung idea ng continental drift theory. Kasi sabi ko nga kanina, for hundreds or centuries ago, pinaniniwala ng mga tao na fixed na yung mga posisyon ng ating mga continents. So it's really hard na labanan yung ganyang mga ideas. Sasabihin natin parang bato na yung mga ganyang mga batas sa ating nature. So, kaya nung una, talagang tinaasan ng kilay yung kanyang proposal na continental drift theory. Talagang kinriticize ng mabuti ng mga scientists before his time or during his time itong idea ng continental drift theory. But Wegener did not waver. Talagang nag-propose siya, nag-push siya ng mga evidence, nagpakita siya ng mga evidence that can support his theory. Okay, talagang hindi niya binitawan yung idea niya na gumagalaw o gumalaw ang ating mga continents towards the present position nila ngayon. So tingnan natin ano nga ba yung mga evidence na yan. Let's have the first one, the continental jigsaw idea. Wegener and other scientists noticed the remarkable similarity between the coastlines on the opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean. So we have here the picture of the continents South America and Africa, and even if you hold a map right now, you're going to see the uncanny similarity between the coastlines of the two continents, especially yung sinasabi nating eastern side ng South America and the western side ng ating Africa. They actually parang nag-fit talaga, para siyang gloves. So kitang-kita natin sa ating diagram na to that there are some portion that they can actually clearly line up. So parang silang jigsaw puzzle. So yan yung kauna-unahang ginamit na evidence ni Wegener at yung iba pa mga scientists during his time and even before his time sa idea ng continental drift. Itong South America-African coastline facing the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? But, however, this idea of using the present coastlines were challenged by other scientists. Kasi sabi ng mga scientists, parang mali na gamitin yung mga present coastlines bilang baseline natin ng iyong proposal. Kasi as you can see here on this animation, the coastlines of our beaches, all around the world, they are actually pummeled. So they are pummeled by waves. They are usually battered by waves, wind, water, and all of those erosional processes. Erosion and depositional processes. So there's a tendency na yung present coastline na yan is actually nagbago na for thousands or even millions of years. So sinasabi ng mga scientists, hindi magandang gamitin yung present coastlines na yan at sabihin natin na nag-fit yan. Baka coincidence lang eh. Baka coincidence lang nag-fit yung dalawang coastline ng ating dalawang continent, ng ating South America at saka Africa. So it's just mere coincidence, sabi nila. Kasi affected yan eh. They're highly affected by this erosion and depositional processes. Pero sabi ko nga, sabi natin, medyo matigas talaga rin ang ulo ni Wegener. Talaga nag-push siya. Hindi niya tinantanan. Sabi nung stick with that one. Buti na lang, later scientists, ang ginamit na lang nila, hindi yung coastline. Kasi sabi nga, as you can see here in this diagram, this yellow line shows the shoreline. And these shorelines are actually affected by yung mga sinasabi nga natin mga processes, yung mga erosional and depositional processes. So they propose na ang dapat gamitin na baseline para it's a continental jigsaw idea na ito ay itong tinatawag nating the edge of the continental shelf. This line, itong nililinya natin gamit ako ng pen. Itong nililinyahan ko ngayon, ito dapat ang ginagawa nating baseline para sa sinasabi nating idea ng continental jigsaw. Hindi itong nandito. So let me use another color. Let me use green one. So hindi daw itong part na to ang dapat ginagamit. So hindi ito. Ito dapat ang ginagamit natin, yung continental shelf natin. Bakit? Kasi they are less prone to erosional and depositional forces. So yan daw dapat ang ginamit ni Wegener during his time para at least medyo mas matibay-tibay o mas mahilab-hilab yung idea niya ng continental jigsaw. But at least some of the scientists pick up the idea of Wegener, kaya naipagpatuloy nila itong concept na ito. Okay? So that's the first one. Aside from that one, in the early 1960s, another scientist named Edward Ballard and two associates constructed a map that pieced together the edges of the continental shelves of South America and Africa. So that's the good thing here. Talagang hindi lang si Wegener ang nagtatanggol sa kanyang idea. There are so many scientists that still push through with this idea of this continental jigsaw na ito. So with the help of Edward Ballard and two associates, as you can see here on this map, Ang ginamit na nilang baseline dito is yung tinatawag na nating continental shelf. At talagang nag-fit perfectly yung dalawang continents na yan. So talagang napagtibay nila yung idea ng continental drift with the help of other scientists. Kasi during 1960s, wala na rin naman na si Wegener. So at least na ipagpatuloy yung concept niya na ito. So by the time of Ballard and his associates or colleagues, ang pinropose or ginamit na nilang mapa dito is the continental shelf of the continents. As you can see here, these are the red and the blue lines sa ating mapa. Okay? So let's review muna. What are the two continents pieced together by Wegener that serves as an evidence to continental drift? Is it Africa and Asia, Asia and Europe, Africa and South America, or Africa and Europe? Again, what are the two continents pieced together by Wegener that serves as the evidence to continental drift? Is it Africa and Asia, Asia and Europe, Africa and South America, and Africa and Europe? Again, 10 seconds for your answer. Okay, if your answer is Africa and South America, then you are correct. Again, later the scientists, they found out that dapat ginamit ang continental shelf and instead of the shoreline, which was originally proposed by Wegener. What part of the continent was used as a better approximation for the boundary of the continent? Ano nga ba dapat yung sinuggest ng ating mga scientists after Wegener para daw gamiting better approximation ng boundary ng mga continents? Is it continental shelf, continental rise, abyssal plain, or continental slope? Again, the choices are continental shelf, continental rise, abyssal plain, and continental slope. 10 seconds. If your answer is continental shelf, then you are correct. So, tuloy natin. Aside from the continental jigsaw idea ng mga scientists as well as Wegener, we found out these fossils. Pag sinabi natin fossils grade 10, these are the remains, these are the markings, remains, o yung mga natirang mga labi na mga nabuhay na organisms before. So, through a thorough review of literature, okay, Wegener noted that most paleontologists, once we say paleontologists grade 10, these are scientists that study ancient life, mga sinaunang may buhay. These scientists agreed that a land connection was needed to explain similar Mesozoic age life forms on widely separate land masses. So, as you can see here on our map, as pinopoint out ko ngayon, these darker green portions of South America and Africa, they contain similar fossils. So may mga natagpo ang mga fossils dito sa South America na kahawig ng Africa. They have the same age and the same type. So sabi ng mga scientists, the only proposal, the only thing na pwede makapagdulot ng pagkakaroon ng magkakamukhang mga fossils sa dalawang magkalayong land masses ay sa pagkakaroon ng land bridge. Okay? So they proposed that animals could walk across the land bridge. Okay? Kaya lang sabi ni Wegener, parang hindi naman plausible yung land bridges na yan. Ano kaya yung dahilan? Ano kaya yung mas maganda o plausible explanation regarding this occurrence of similar age and similar type fossils sa dalawang magkahiwalay na landmass? Okay? So as you can see here, we have here 4 fossils, 3 animals and 1 plant, na kung saan pinakita dito sa ating mapa yung presence ng mga fossils na yan. So as you can see here, Cynognathus, a mammal-like reptile. So yan po yun. So parang siyang mammal-like reptile lang naman siya. It's a Triassic land reptile approximately 3 meters long. They have found fossils at the central part ng South America at saka ng Africa. So ito yung sinasabi natin yung mga similar age and similar type fossils. The blue one here are fossils of freshwater reptile called Mesosaurus. So we have here a picture of Mesosaurus, and they're found near Patagonia sa may southern tip ng ating South America at sa southern portion ng ating continent ng Africa. So dito naman natagpuan yung mga fossils na yan. They're aquatic fish catching reptiles. This brown one is another land reptile called Lystrosaurus. Ito po yung itsurang Lystrosaurus natin. And there are some fossils found in Africa, central part, northern part ng Madagascar, ayan po yung pinopoint out natin, middle part ng India, and even in Antarctica. Okay? So, alam natin yung Antarctica ngayon is it's a barren landscape filled with a very cold climate, talagang thick ice sheet. Pero during the time of the dinosaurs, I think this is Triassic or Mesozoic period, warm, tropical ang ating Antarctica. Okay? And there are also trees. Even this one is an example of tree fern. This one is Glossopteris. And these Glossopteris are found in all parts or all southern continents, from South America and even to Australia. I think this one, meron kayong activity na pinrepare ako. So I hope this one could help you in making your map showing the presence of different fossils sa iba't ibang continents natin. Okay? So again, the four organisms that were used as an evidence, we have Cyanognathus, we have Mesosaurus, Lystrosaurus, and Glossopteris. Okay? So aside from the fossils, okay, sinabi rin natin na mayroong mga rock types na magkakamukha sa iba't ibang continents. Okay? So sabi nila, if the continents were once together, the rocks found in a particular region on one continent should closely match in age and type found in the adjacent position on the one's adjoining continent. So they propose na yung mga mountain ranges natin, specifically yung mga medyo matatandang mga mountain ranges natin, ay sabihin natin, they are just part of a longer mountain ranges sa magkakadikit na continent. So pinopropose pa rin talaga ng mga scientists natin na yung mga continents before, they're connected, and even these rock types, even these land masses, itong mga mountain ranges natin, mga landforms natin, they're also even connected to each other. So magkakadikit-dikit sila. Okay? So yan yung ginamit din nila mga evidence during the time. So as you can see here, we have specifically, I think we have a picture. This one is a better picture. Similar evidence can be found in mountain belts that terminate at one's coastline only to appear on land masses across the ocean. So we have here the Appalachian Mountains sa North America and Caledonian Mountains sa British Isles at sa Scandinavia. And they found out they have the same age, same rock type. So the only possible and plausible reason para patunayan yung idea na yan is that these continents, specifically the North America and Europe, they are slammed together during this time. Okay? Kaya napansin natin din sa ikalawang mapa dito that the Caledonian Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains are connected to each other. Okay? They are very old mountain ranges, specifically itong Appalachian Mountains. Sinasabi pa nga ng mga scientists that these mountain ranges before, as in millions of years ago, di hamak na mas mataas pa ito o mas prominent pa ito sa Himalayan mountain range na makikita natin sa Nepal, India, China area. Okay? So kaya lang matanda na yung mountain range na yan, kaya medyo mababa na yung mountain at saka nag-erode na, kaya medyo hindi na sila kataasan. So this one also serves as an evidence for continental drift theory. But since Wegener is actually, hindi siya geologist, I'm very sorry I forgot to say this one. Wegener is not a geologist. He's actually a meteorologist. Pag sinabi nating meteorologist, these are scientists that studies weather and climate. And atmosphere in general, yung mga kaganapan, yung mga kapanahon, yung klima, yan ang pinag-aaralan ni Wegener. So lastly, sa kanyang proposal, Wegener suspected that paleoclimatic data might also support the idea of mobile continents. Okay? So pag sinabi nating paleo means old or ancient, climatic or climate means these are the condition of an environment for a long period of time. So ginamit ni Wegener tong idea na ito, tong mga ancient climate data na ito para masuportahan yung paggalaw ng mga mobile continents na yan. So hindi sapat yung fossils, yung rock types, and even the climate itself was actually used by Wegener to prove his continental drift theory. By the way, if you have questions, please feel free to put your questions sa ating comment section. I will fix the live chat later. Okay? Wegener learned that evidence of glaciation, pag sinabi natin glaciation, this is a process wherein vast ice sheets are formed, okay, were discovered in Southern Africa, South America, Australia, and India. And by the way, these are the same continents. Kung babalikan natin sa ating diagram kanina, sa mga four fossil types natin, kay Lystrosaurus, Cyanognathus, Mesosaurus, saka kay Glossopteris, these are also the continents na involve doon sa mga fossils na yan. And aside from that one, they found glaciations. Again, pag sinabi natin glaciation, this is a process wherein we form vast ice sheet sa isang large landmass. So the only reason para masabi natin na bakit may mga glaciation sa mga landmasses na to ay napakalayo nila sa South Pole or sa polar region, di ba? Ang mga ice sheets na ganyan, they typically form in polar regions. So they found out, so pwede natin masabi na during this time, sa pag-progress 300 million years ago, okay? Itong mga continents na to, they are once together and they experience vast glaciation. But eventually, konting nag-move sila paangat, nagpunta sila sa tropical area, kaya nagkaroon ng pagkatunaw ng yelo and natubo na yung mga glossopteris natin. But during 100 million years earlier, they have vast ice sheets. And this can be observed, yung mga evidence ng glaciation can be observed sa mga rock types. Okay? Sa itsura ng landforms. Sa mismo mga rocks na nakita nila sa mga continents na yan, they can actually point out to glaciation. One proposal suggested that our planet experienced extreme global cooling. Okay? Yun sabi ng mga scientists, ay hindi totoo pa rin yan, mali pa rin yung sinasabi ni Wegener. Ang dahilan kung bakit may glaciation sa mga areas na yan ay dahil may global cooling. Okay? Lumamig daw yung ating planeta. We became a snowball Earth during this period. Pero itong idea na to inireject ni Wegener. Kasi sabi ni Wegener, kung may global cooling during that time, bakit may mga large tropical swamps sa North America during the same period? So kung sinasabi niya kung global cooling na lumamig ang buong planeta natin, dapat buong mundo maapektuhan nitong sinasabing cooling period na ito. Pero sabi ni Wegener, hindi totoo yan, hindi posible yan dahil may mga evidence ako, may mga fossils ako, may mga data ako na nagsasabi na may large tropical swamps o mga wetlands sa North America during the same period. And these wetlands are formed kapag medyo, sabihin natin, humid or moist ang isang environment. And this will not happen during global cooling. So, nakita natin, no, talagang ipinaglalaban ni Wegener yung kanyang idea all through those years. Hanggang sa huling sandali talaga niya. Actually, ikinamatay na rin niya yung pagkalap ng ebidensya. He died, I think, sa Greenland yata or sa North Pole, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, habang siya ay nangangalap ng data. Wegener suggested that PANGAEA gives a plausible explanation for the late Paleozoic glaciation. So sabi niya, the only reason kung bakit siyang mga continents and land masses na yan ay may same pattern of Paleozoic glaciation 300 million years ago is dahil sila ay magkakasama nung nabuo yung tinatawag nating supercontinent PANGAEA. Okay? As you can see here, this diagram shows you the outline or the margin of this glaciation. And these continents are found near South Pole during 300 million years ago. Pero another 100 million years from that, nag-move yung mga continents kaya naging tropical na yung mga conditional, except Antarctica because Antarctica continued to drift southwards. So here is Wegener and his associates. One of the main objections to Wegener's hypothesis stem from his inability to identify a credible mechanism for continental drift. Sabi ng mga scientists, naku Wegener, kahit anong dami ng ebidensya ang ibigay mo sa idea mo na continental drift theory, hindi pa rin namin matatanggap yan dahil wala ka namang maibigay na mekanismo kung bakit nangyari yan. Yes, may evidence ka para sa theory mo, pero wala kang maibigay sa amin na isang mekanismo na magpapaliwanag paano gumalaw yung mga continents na yan. Yes, sige, may mga fossils, may mga rock types, may paleoclimate data, the coastlines are there, they're very visible, they can be joined together, pero wala ka namang binibigay sa amin na mekanismo. Bakit gumagana yan? O bakit nangyari yung bagay na yan? Okay? So, sabi ni Wegener, he proposed that gravitational forces between Earth and Moon and Sun were capable of gradually moving continents across the globe. Kaya lang, sinabi later ng mga scientists that the amount of force exerted by this gravitational force is not enough to move big chunks of land masses. Okay? So, hindi rin talaga nabigyan ng, yun ang problema kay Wegener. Yes, he has a scientific revolution on his mind, but unfortunately, he was not able to give a better, or rather the mechanism behind. Nag-propose siya, nag-try siya, gravitational force yan. Habang nagkakahilahan yung ating moon, yung planet natin, and even the sun, naiaangat niya unti-unti yung mga continents na yan and they started moving. So parang magnet lang, parang na-attract ng magnet yung ating mga continents. Pero sabi ng mga scientists, no, it's not possible. The amount of force exerted by this gravitational pull is very weak to pull these land masses apart. Also, Wegener incorrectly suggested that larger and sturdier continents broke through the thinner crust, much like icebreakers cut through ice. So parang ganyan yan. So sinasabi daw ni Wegener na yung mga malalaking land masses as simulated by these icebreakers, they started cutting through ice. So parang ganyan. Yung maninipis na plates or continents, madali nila nababasag. At yun ang dahilan daw ba't nag-move yung mga continents. Yun ang proposal niya. Okay? And he also used astronomical methods. So sinasabi niya na Greenland, one of the largest islands in our planet, drifted westward with respect to Europe. So medyo blurred kasi yung nakita kong picture on this one. This one came from a research article. So ito yung pinapakita nito yung path ng pag-move nung ating nung Greenland using astronomical methods. So yan po, na ipakita pa talaga, ipinush talaga ni Wegener hanggang sa huling sandali na totoo ang continental drift, and this is actually the reason why or rather it actually gives the reason kung bakit nag-move yung mga continents natin. But unfortunately, scientists still think that the idea of continental drift theory is not enough to explain the movement of these continents. Okay? And that's the reason why kung bakit yan ang i-discuss natin sa susunod. Once I'm at Cavite State University next week na, ang i-discuss na natin is more on the plate tectonics. Ano yung reason? Ano yung what are the mechanism behind these drifting continents? Yun ang i-study na natin. Pag-aaralan natin yung mga plate boundaries, movement ng mga plates, and what causes these plates. And we can also inject some topics kung saan bakit may mga vulkan at may mga extinct volcanoes sa Cavite, Batangas area. Titingnan natin ano yung effect nun. So yun yung mga pag-aaralan natin sa susunod na ng mga lessons natin sa grade 10 science natin. So for the last set of review, let's review what are the aquatic fish catching reptiles used by Wegener to support his continental drift theory. Is it Glossopteris, Lystrosaurus, Cynognathus, or Mesosaurus? Alin dyan sa apat na yan na organism na isang aquatic fish catching reptiles daw na ginamit ni Wegener to support his theory? Is it Glossopteris, Lystrosaurus, Cynognathus, and Mesosaurus? Okay, 10 seconds. If your answer is Mesosaurus, then you are correct. What type of landform was used by Wegener to support his continental drift theory? So alin sa apat na yan ang ginamit ni Wegener para masuportahan ang kanyang continental drift theory? Is it plateaus and valleys, hills, mountain ranges, or volcanoes? Again, what type of landform was used by Wegener to support his continental drift theory? Is it plateaus and valleys, hills, mountain ranges, or volcanoes? 10 seconds. If your answer is mountain ranges, then you are correct. As you can see, if you still remember, yung Appalachian Mountains and Caledonian Mountains ng Scandinavian America, they believe that they're once connected. Right? What is the process that caused the formation of vast ice sheets across the continent? So what is the process that caused the formation of vast ice sheets across the continents? The choices are global cooling, glaciation, snowfall, or avalanche. Again, the choices are global cooling, glaciation, snowfall, or avalanche. 10 seconds. If your answer is glaciation, then you are correct. Again, global cooling is yun yung kalaban ng paleoclimatic data ni Wegener. Okay? So that ends our discussion for this day. So I hope to see you on Monday, October 3. I think it's Tuesday pala, sorry. Tuesday pala tayo magkikita dahil yun ang schedule ng Science 10 natin. So I hope to see you on Tuesday. And we are going to process more. Pag-aaralan pa nating mabuti itong continental drift theory before we move on to plate tectonics. So I have prepared several activities. We are going to process all the activities that I have gave you last time. So we'll see each other soon. And again, thank you and goodbye. So balik lang po sa platform natin. So yan, that ends our first asynchronous online class for Science 10 natin. So by next week or by October 4, we are going to start or we are going to continue our quest o yung ating discussion regarding how these continents came to be. Paano nga ba nagkaroon ng mga continents na yan and how do they move? So for our lesson number 2, we are going to have plate tectonics. But before we have plate tectonics, we are going to process first the activities that I have gave you. Sasagutan natin yan para at least ready na tayo sa mga susunod na lesson. Again, this ends our session for this day. Again, maraming salamat po sa mga nanood at manonood ng ating live streaming. Again, thank you and goodbye.